The day I arrived at my brother's house, the sky was a soft canvas of gray, whispering promises of rain. His home, tucked neatly between rows of modest townhouses, radiated a warmth that instantly eased my travel-weary mind. As soon as I stepped onto the porch, the front door swung open, and my brother, ever the responsible elder, greeted me with a wide, familiar smile. "It's been too long," he said, pulling me into a firm, brotherly hug. His presence had always been a shelter against the unpredictability of the world. Behind him, my sister-in-law emerged, her face lighting up with genuine affection. She was everything one could hope for in an extended family, kind, attentive, and effortlessly graceful. Inside, the house smelled faintly of cinnamon and old wood, a scent that felt both nostalgic and welcoming. We shared light conversation over tea, exchanging stories and laughter that stitched the afternoon together with comforting ease. That was when I first met her brother, Arav. He entered the living room with an almost casual air, offering a polite smile that lingered a second longer than necessary. Arav was slightly taller than my brother, with an easy confidence that bordered on arrogance. His handshake was firm, his gaze steady. Yet, beneath the surface of his politeness, there was something unreadable. I brushed it off. After all, we were family now. The conversation drifted as the day wore on. Arav contributed little, preferring to watch and listen rather than participate. I chalked his silence up to shyness, unwilling to be suspicious without reason. My brother, meanwhile, announced he had to leave for the office, something urgent, unavoidable. "You'll be fine here, right?" he asked, reaching for his car keys. "Of course," I smiled, waving him off. What could possibly happen in the safety of family? Shortly after, my sister-in-law bustled around preparing to head to the market. She seemed reluctant to leave me alone but reassured herself with the knowledge that Arav was still in the house. "I'll be quick," she promised, slipping on her sandals. "Make yourself at home." I nodded, grateful for the quiet. A few moments later, the door clicked shut behind her, leaving an almost unnatural silence hanging in the air. I wandered into the guest room, a small, cozy space arranged with obvious care, and sat on the bed, pulling out my phone to scroll mindlessly. The house creaked with the familiar sounds of settling wood. A soft thump echoed from a hallway, and I assumed it was Arav moving about. Still, an odd feeling stirred within me, a faint prickling at the back of my neck, the kind you get when you realize you're not as alone as you thought. I dismissed it, but as I settled deeper into the covers, a shadow loomed in the doorframe, and an inexplicable chill washed over me. The moment I saw Arav leaning against the doorframe, a knot twisted in my stomach. His posture was too casual, too deliberate, as though he had been standing there longer than I realized. "Are you comfortable?" he asked, his voice low, almost mocking. I offered a polite, tense smile, hoping he would take the hint and leave me to rest. Instead, he stepped inside, closing the door halfway behind him. The simple click of the latch sounded far louder than it should have in the quiet room. "You seem different in person," he murmured, seating himself on the edge of the bed without invitation. "Prettier." I stiffened, unease blossoming into full-blown alarm. I forced a laugh, the sound brittle. "Thanks. You should probably go, my brother might call." He smiled, a slow, unsettling stretch of his lips. "Relax. We're family, right?" Before I could react, he placed a hand on my knee. The contact was electric and wrong, sending a jolt of fear up my spine. I shifted away, my voice finally finding strength. "Please leave," I said firmly, staring at the door behind him, calculating how fast I could reach it. Instead of listening, Arav leaned closer, his breath hot against my cheek. Panic clawed at my chest. I stood up, heart hammering, but he grabbed my wrist, pulling me back down with a strength that brooked no argument. I said no. I cried, struggling against him. But my protest seemed only to embolden him. His grip tightened, his body pressing mine against the mattress. In that moment, all the trust, all the assumptions of safety, shattered like fragile glass. I fought, kicking, pushing, pleading, but he was stronger. My mind screamed, but my voice was swallowed by the thick walls and the silence that surrounded us. His hands were everywhere, cold and uninvited, and I realized with mounting horror that he wasn't going to stop. Time fractured. I lost sense of everything but the suffocating weight, the betrayal, the overwhelming helplessness. Every desperate thought blurred into a single, aching plea for it to end. When he finally released me, it was with a casual detachment that made the violation feel all the more monstrous. He stood, adjusted his shirt, and without a word, walked out of the room as if nothing had happened, leaving the door ajar behind him and my soul fractured in ways I couldn't yet comprehend. I lay there, numb, every nerve screaming, tears slipping soundlessly down my face. The walls around me seemed to pulse, the once welcoming home now twisted into a prison of shame and fear. In the hallway, I heard his retreating footsteps, unhurried and light, as if he carried no burden at all. I don't remember how long I lay there, frozen, the ceiling blurring above me. My body ached, but it was the deeper wounds, the ones unseen, that throbbed louder, pulsing with every broken heartbeat. I finally rose on trembling legs, locking the door with shaking fingers. The mirror across the room caught my reflection, and I recoiled at the sight. My hair was disheveled, my eyes wide with a horror I couldn't mask. I barely recognized myself. Dragging myself to the attached bathroom, I turned on the faucet and splashed water on my face, desperate to wash away the shame clawing at my skin. But no amount of scrubbing could erase the feeling of his hands, the suffocating memory of what had been stolen. My mind raced in 1,000 frantic directions. Should I call my brother? Should I scream? Would anyone even believe me? After all, Arav was family, trusted, accepted without question. What if they thought I had encouraged him? A stray word, a misunderstood glance. It didn't take much to twist a woman's truth into lies. The fear was paralyzing. I sank to the floor, pressing my forehead against the cold tile, trying to silence the barrage of self-blame. I knew, logically, that I wasn't at fault. I had said no. I had fought. And yet a heavy shame rooted itself deep within me, a shame I didn't deserve but couldn't escape. Footsteps echoed faintly down the hall. For a terrifying moment, I thought Arav had returned. But when I cracked the door open a sliver, I saw my brother stepping inside the house, his voice cheery as he called out to no one in particular. I shrank back, heart hammering. How could I face him? How could I sit across from him at dinner, knowing what had just happened under his roof? Moments later, my sister-in-law returned, arms full of shopping bags, her laughter filling the hallway. She greeted my brother with a playful scolding for not helping her carry everything in. Normalcy buzzed around me like a cruel joke. From the safety of the guest room, I watched the scene unfold. Their easy affection, their oblivious happiness, it made the fracture inside me yawning and wide. A part of me wanted to rush out, to scream, to shatter their perfect bubble of ignorance. But I stayed rooted, voiceless, a ghost haunting my own body. I crawled back into bed, curling into myself, pulling the blanket up as if it could shield me from the truth. Tears slipped down my cheeks, soaking into the pillow. A new, devastating reality settled over me. Not only had Arav violated my body, but he had stolen my voice, my trust, my ability to feel safe, even among family. And somehow, I knew that nothing would ever truly be the same again. The following morning, I packed my bags in silence. Every fold of clothing felt heavy, as if stitched with the weight of what had happened. My movements were mechanical, my mind dulled by exhaustion and relentless dread. At breakfast, I forced myself to sit across from my brother and sister-in-law, pretending to sip tea I couldn't taste. Arav wasn't there. He had left early, I overheard, as if my suffering meant nothing more to him than an inconvenience to be avoided. Leaving so soon? My brother asked, surprised. His voice was light, teasing even. You just got here. I managed a small, brittle smile. Something came up back home. I need to leave today. He frowned, concerned, but didn't press. How could he know that the ground beneath our feet had shifted, that the home he offered as refuge had become a place of betrayal for me? How could I tell him that someone he trusted had turned my world upside down in a single, monstrous act? I hugged my sister-in-law goodbye, her embrace warm and unsuspecting. For a moment, guilt clawed at my insides, not because I had done anything wrong, but because I couldn't tell her the truth. Because even as she smiled at me, full of kindness, I could see the devastating ripple my words would cause if spoken aloud. In the cab, as the house grew smaller in the rearview mirror, I pressed my forehead against the window, letting the cool glass ground me. I replayed everything in my mind: the locked door, the silence, the violation, the cowardice of my silence now. But no matter how many times I turned it over, no matter how many different choices I imagined making, the outcome remained the same. I was the one who had been hurt, yet I was the one burdened with shame. Even though I knew that it wasn't my fault, a bitter, gnawing voice whispered otherwise. It questioned my decisions, my reactions, my very worth. I would carry this secret, this wound, into the future. It would sit silently between me and every future relationship, every family gathering, every hollow laugh I might one day force out. Some betrayals don't shout their presence. They bleed quietly, staining everything you once held dear. As the city blurred past the window, I made myself a quiet promise. I would heal. Not today, maybe not tomorrow, but someday. I would reclaim my voice, my trust, my sense of self. But I also knew one truth with painful clarity. I would never again see that house or the people within it the same way. Some lines, once crossed, can never be uncrossed.